We are streaming live on Facebook and perhaps other things, I'm never sure. And we will get started. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. For those who got the planet, you will know already that I'm Lorraine Fortner, or maybe you can see it on the screen, I don't know. Or you may know that anyway, and if you don't, well, it's true anyhow. So again, in the planet, and as we've been using for the summer, we have our service handout, so you should have it available electronically if you don't have a paper copy already. And if you don't have it, but you have kind of any standard Reform prayer book.
Is this it,
pretty much
Lorraine?
have everything.
Is this the thing we're using? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah, I got
kind
it.
of like that. It's also an excerpt or a slight subset of the one we used last summer. If that's one you happen to have, you'll be able to follow well enough. So again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll begin with our opening song. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Behold how good and how wonderful it is when brothers and sisters sit together, even if virtually. So for those who have candles, we will turn to our candle lighting. Mine are going to be dangerously behind me. See them? Yes, you can just see them. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctified us with commandments and commanded us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Shalom aleichem, malachei hasharet, malachei elyon, mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Archuni l'shalom, malachei hashalyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn to the Baruch Hu at the bottom of the page. Those whose tradition is to rise may do so. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai, Hamivorach, Leolam Va'ed. Eternal God, whose temple is the whole world and whose dwelling place is the human heart, we know that you are everywhere and that your presence never leaves us. Yet we are thankful for appointed times and chosen places where, in fellowship with one another, our spirits turn to you. At this service, at this hour, and in these places, help us to feel your nearness. The week of toil is ended and the day of rest has come, and we pause to reflect on the meaning of our lives. Source of all creation, you have given us the blessing of work so that by our efforts we may fashion things and use the moments of helpfulness. You have also given us Shabbat for self-renewal and sanctification. May the work of our hands and minds be acceptable to you. May this Shabbat enrich our lives, drawing us closer to you in truth and in love. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. We continue with the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am v'shiftecha b'beitecha v'vleftecha v'aderech v'shachbecha v'kumecha v'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu latotofot b'neinecha v'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha v'visharecha Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kiddoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. And Elie Wiesel said, if we have learned one thing from our past, it is that to live through dramatic events is not enough. One has to share them and transform them into acts of conscience. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nerdar bakodesh, no ra tehilot, oh seifele, no ra tehilot, oh seifele, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba 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 bim bam, ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba ba bim bam. Ay, 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 yabba bim bam bim bam. Ay, 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 yabba bim bam bim bam. Malechutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam livnei Moshe. Ze'eli, ze'eli, anu b'yamru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Ya ba ba bim bim bam, ya ba ba bim bam, ya ba bim bim bam, ya ba bim bam. Ay 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 ay, ya ba bim bam bim bam. Ay 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 ay, ya ba bim bam bim bam. And we rise for the Amidah, if you are willing and able. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vikone Hakol, Vizocher Chazdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi geula livnei v'nehem, Laman shemo b'yahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah rav lehoshia, Mechalchel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'agurot, Umido melach, Melech meimit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atalach hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, v'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. We believe in tomorrow. We believe that we have the power to make tomorrow different from today. We believe that poverty need not be permanent and that people need not learn war forever. We believe in people despite all that we know about them. We believe that there can still be a time of peace and a time of justice, a time of fellowship and a time of tranquility for all who live on earth. We believe that we can have a share in bringing that day closer by the way in which we live in the week to come. Even though the world may smile at our dreams, it does not matter. We still believe. And again, kind of going off script a little bit. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. So we ask God to grant us peace for us and for the whole world. And with that, we turn our thoughts now to those in our community and those of whom we are aware who are in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. I know within our community, we have Arlene Graham and we have Madeline Ammons, I believe. And well, who knows what state Felicia is in, but I bet she could use some, some prayers and blessings. Are there other names that people would like to include in this week's Misha Berach? And I'll also add my friend Roger Godzi Bell. I don't see anything popping in chat, so we will go ahead and continue. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikor habracha renew. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We'll pause now for a moment of silent meditation or reflection. Yehi liratzon, imrefi v'higyon libi, lefanecha Adonai, tsuri v'koali. So this week's Torah portion is called Akev, and it is found in Deuteronomy chapters 7, verse 12 through 11, verse 25. And the portion begins with Moses telling the Israelites that good things will come their way if they will follow the 10 commandments. Yeah, but it's not quite that simple. No. First, they need to take the promised land. And that's going to include destroying, pretty much annihilating the people who are there, but not all at once, because too much destruction all at once would attract wild beasts and horrible things. But most importantly, those people's idols must be destroyed so that no one is tempted to worship them or to lust after the gold and silver that are part of those idols. And all of this will happen because God will make it happen. And Moses reminds us that it's not because this group of people really deserves the land. No, they're getting it kind of in spite of the events that have occurred since leaving Egypt. Things like the golden calf and the bad reports from the spies 40 years earlier. No, they're getting the land because of the promises God made to the patriarchs and because the current occupants deserve to lose it. Now, as an aside, there's a little note in there, just kind of tucked in. Moses notes that throughout all the decades of the wandering, our clothing didn't wear out and our feet didn't swell. That's grounds for celebration just in its own right. I think maybe they meant that our shoes didn't wear out, but that's just a little aside in there that, I don't know why he included it, but it was important enough to make it into the Torah. So meanwhile, Moses reminds the people that they are to bless God when they have enjoyed the bounty of the land, and not to think that they have brought about this good fortune themselves. Yes, we do need to work for what we want and need, but it is ultimately God who gives it to us, and we need to give thanks. And failure to do so will lead to our demise. And then Moses continues to recap the events that have happened since the leaving of Egypt and all the ways that things have gone wrong, and all the times that either God or Moses or both were ready to give up on those people. And yet they persevered. And Moses summarizes by saying, so now what does God require of you? This is not quite the same as what Micah summarizes in the prophets much later. Moses' summary says, only to fear God, to walk in all God's ways, and to love God and to serve God with all your heart and with all your soul. Keep these commandments for your own good. Behold, it is to your God that the heavens and the earth belong. And therefore, do not stiffen your necks anymore. And we know that there have been numerous references to our people being a stiff-necked people. So, and if we don't do these things, and especially if we do bow to other gods, God will withhold the rains and the earth will not bring forth food. And the Torah portion concludes when Moses repeats essentially a chunk of the Via Hafta. It says, even then, you must place these words upon your heart and upon your soul, and bind them as a sign upon your hand, and let them be for frontlets between your eyes, and teach them to your sons, and speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk upon the way, and when you lie down, and when you get up. Write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, so that the days of your children may long endure in the promised land. And if you keep these commandments, God will put fear of you into all the lands where you set foot. Not quite the same as what we're used to chanting, but pretty close. So what should we take from all of this? Well, clearly, we need to follow God's laws and we need to give thanks. That's the big message. We also need to make sure we take time to appreciate the many blessings that we have received. And even through our challenges and our hardships, there are many things to appreciate. And we also need to check our egos so that we don't lose our sense of gratitude. And changing thread a little bit, this past weekend, many of you are aware we had Alden Solovey join us in Levin Hall to share some of his thoughts on spirituality and modern Jewish prayer. And he, of course, had a book, because people do. But I wanted to share one of the poems from his book in conclusion of the Stavar. And it is called, and it seemed fitting, but it's called Recipe for a Life. And here's the recipe. 1 cup gratitude, 2 tablespoons humility, 1/2 teaspoon pride, 5 cloves love, 2 crushed, 4 seeds of forgiveness, 2 tall stalks of strength, 1 tablespoon surrender, 2 sprigs awe, 3 shoots wonder, 1/2 cup hard knocks melted, 1 cup fresh squeezed joy, 1/2 cup pounded sorrow, 1 cup wisdom sifted, 1 gleaming ray of light, 2 cubes compassion, dash of fleeting time, pinch of coarse suffering, zest of music. Number 1, combine the ingredients. 2, stir with abandon. 3, invite friends. 4, sing. And 5, pray. And with that, we will return to our service booklets for the Aleinu. And again, those for whom it is the tradition, you may rise or not as you see fit or are able. We continue. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula yotzer breshit, shelo asan kagoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kechol hamonam, anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. As we turn our thoughts toward the mourner's Kaddish. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And this week as a congregation, we observe the art sites of Beverly Searley, Doris Schumann, David Burney, Eric Schiff, Leonard Solganic, Joseph Nalepka, Israel Berman, Shirley Hoffman, Samson M. Weckstein, Tilly C. Rosengarten Nelson, and I believe we have a recent passing of Lita Saul. Are there any other names that anyone would like to include in this week's Kaddish? Not hearing any or seeing any. We continue together. Yit Gadal, V'yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma Devarach Hirute, V'yamlich Malchute, V'chayechon, Uvyomechon, Uv'chaye Dekol Beit Yisrael, V'agala V'zman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Leolam, L'omei Almaya, Yit Barak V'yishtabak, V'yit Pa'ar, V'yit Romam, V'yit Naseh, V'yit Hadar, V'yit Talev, V'yit Talal, Shemei Dekudashah Barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us and on all Israel and on all the world. And let us say, Amen. And for those who have the appropriate props, return to the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho, v'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maseh v'reishit, Ki hu yom techila lemikroe kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kadshecha Yahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat. Chaim. And my challah tonight is not the traditional challah, but it is braided and it is special and it is perhaps a little bit decadent and it's perhaps outclassed by what Renee and Ira have, but that's okay. I think it all still counts. We lift them together or whatever you may have, not worrying about whether it's outclassed by anybody else. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And it's got lots of cinnamon, so it's been smelling really good for the last day and a half. We're lucky the whole thing made it to the service tonight. It might not have. All right. So as soon as I finish chewing here, because I took too big a piece, we will conclude with Adon Olam, which is on the last page of your service booklet, no matter which booklet you have. And again, if you're following in something else, it's there and you may know it anyway. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa V'hefza kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'yacharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yihiyeh V'tifara V'hu Echad V'yein Sheni L'hamshilo L'hachbira V'li Reshit V'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'hamizrah V'hu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzur Hevli B'yet Sahara V'hu Nisi Umanos Li Menat Kosi V'yomek Rabbi Yado Afkid Ruhi B'yet Ishan V'ya'ira V'imruhi Gaviyati Adonai Li V'lo ira. Someday I'll learn to start that higher, but I haven't yet. So, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. In terms of announcements, there's not much going on at the temple this weekend. There's no Tanakh study this week. It'll be next weekend. I think there's also, next weekend is an adult ed program. Dr. Felix Garfunkel will be sharing his experiences and life story. I think there may be some other things going on. You should all have gotten your membership support requests. And it is important, no matter what numbers you're putting on there, to please turn them in so that budget and finance and the board and everybody can have some planning numbers, so we can kind of know what to expect. And so do as you see fit with those. Last I heard, next week's service is available for any one of you who says, I could do that. Because, really you could. It would be different, but that's okay. Just contact the rabbi if that's what's flowing through your brain right this moment, saying, yes, that's what I want to do. But I think the rest of the weeks may be taken, so you may be out of luck if you don't jump quick. But, things change. Any other announcements anybody knows of? All right. Again, Gail, thank you. I will go ahead and